listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast. This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Jessica.
And this is The Coop. So, did you notice how we're talking so self-care-ish?
Yes,
Nice
and calm.
Yes, this is the self-care episode. So we're going to be talking about self-care, what it is, its importance, and what you can do for it mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Yep, and then we'll drop a little dose of reality and let you know what self-care really looks like.
Yes. So let's start off with our scoop on the coop.
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
So we're moving along in our history, social studies curriculum, and we finally are getting to U.S. history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I love the story of the world, and then as we go into different areas, I like to really dive in. And so now this really begins our study. So we're going to get through colonial America and then start to really dive in deep for the Revolution period. So
how fun.
Super exciting.
Yeah, totally. So my scoop is... Well, since we're talking about self-care,
yes.
I might as well talk about it. I've had problems with black hairs growing on my face, on my chinny chin.
Yeah.
And the other day, because I haven't been doing facial self-care, let's be honest, I'm lucky if I brush my teeth. Okay. So, but I hadn't been doing facial self-care. And the other day, I came home and I looked in the mirror and I probably had about 7 or 8 long black hairs on my jawbone. I was like, what is that and why is that there?
What's happening?
Yeah. I can look for them on my chin, but on my jawbone, that...
Now you have to look in the shadows.
Yeah. I was just like, seriously?
I'm out.
Marcus, why didn't you tell me about this? He's like, I don't see it. I don't notice it. I'm like, seriously, I walked around this way. And masks don't cover that part.
Right. That's on highlight.
Yeah. It's like poking out or sticking through.
Okay. Right before we started this, I said, hey, are my white hairs sticking straight up?
You mean your gray hairs?
Yeah, the gray ones.
Yeah,
well, they're pretty much just white now. So, I did like a quick little lick of my fingers and smoothed it down. But, I'm not supposed to pluck those.
No, you're not. You'll be gorgeous gray, though.
We'll see.
Well, you can dye it, too.
We'll see.
So I thought that was funny. Like, not only, the hair started growing in actually at college, like after college, I was getting some kind of steroids for my shoulder problems I had as a swimmer. And I think that probably triggered some of that. And it's just gotten worse. Every decade, it's a little worse.
New things.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't go around in public like this.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. But I don't look in the mirror enough, You're like, when you barely floss, you're like, I can barely check for everything else. So let's talk about self-care.
Yes, let's go into that.
Okay, so I looked up some just average definition of self-care, and it's any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, when I was thinking of what I consider self-care, it just really led me into thinking about the time that it requires to give yourself self-care. And it made me kind of think of like the principles of economics, that time itself is a scarce resource especially for us mothers. That's who we're talking to, is homeschool moms mostly. And then the choices and how you prioritize your time. And so self-care can be a very hard thing to prioritize, even when it really is something that should be.
Right. I mean, you should always take care of yourself first, so then you're fully you for your children. And we talk a lot about that in, is it in the Joy seminar or the Love seminar? I can't remember which one, but in Love, Learning to Love Homeschooling, we talk about how important it is to develop yourself and your mind and feed your soul. So then you are your best self. I hate to use that term because it's such a popular term right now.
Yeah.
But you can be your best self to your kids, and you feel good at the end of the day when you're your best self.
Right. You're not constantly sitting there saying, but I haven't even had this.
Right.
Whenever someone's asking something of you, you're not just wishing for yourself all the time.
Yeah. And, even ministers, they preach all the time, but they always need like a month off every year, or, or a week here and there, so they can they can be fed.
Absolutely.
Because if you're always giving, you know, you're going to run out of supplies, basically. So it's really important, not just for your children, but also for your marriage. I want to be a better spouse for my husband,
Yes.
you know, and I want him to be better for me. And so self-care can really help with that.
Right.
Okay, so let's start off. So we said 3 categories: mental, emotional, and physical. So let's start off with mental.
Yeah.
So these are just some ways we can help our mental. So I'm thinking, when we say mental, I'm thinking brain,
Right.
you know, content.
Cognitive,
Yeah. So I was thinking podcasts. So we have ours, of course. Lighten your day. You can listen to it in the shower, you know, in the car, whatever. But there's also other podcasts, such as I started listening to Fresh Start Family.
Oh, cute.
The Fresh Start Family show. And it's just a husband and wife who've been married 18 years, and they're like us. And they decided to do a podcast and talking about parenting and their relationship. And a friend recommended it on Instagram. And I was like, oh, I'll try it out.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging, it's uplifting, and they're not perfect by any means. They're just like the rest of us.
Right.
You know?
They're learning as they go.
Yeah. So, then there's also Simply Charlotte Mason for those who are into Charlotte Mason and need to be fed in content of how to have a Charlotte Mason perspective. And it's just like 5, 8, 10-minute episodes. And you could sit there with your notes and take notes, and that would feed you mentally.
Absolutely.
To carry off your Charlotte Mason philosophy. I've had recommended Stuff You Should Know.
Oh, yeah.
And I was listening to the Porta Potties one. So I was thinking these would be fun ones to listen to ahead of time to see if the kids would like it. So that's why it's like how Porta Potties work. And they said it was such a popular one. They re-aired it from
funny.
3 years ago. Yeah. And it's fascinating. And they have all these different things like that, stuff you should know.
Right.
And then a friend of mine, she has one about, it's called Oh My God Pod for podcast.
Cute.
Oh My God Pod. And it's the testimonials of how God has impacted their lives. And so every episode's a different family or different, like it could be that they lost children in a car accident.
Yeah.
It could be, you know, they struggled with drug addiction.
Sure.
It could be they struggled in their marriage, and how God revolutionized their life and transformed their hearts and their minds as adults. And so that's an inspiring one, especially for those who like testimonies.
Yes.
And then my husband recommended This American Life. And
sure. Yeah.
That feeds your mind as well, because you're just hearing stories of other people around the world, and you're feeling around the country, and you're feeling connected to them, and they might sit at a diner and interview, and it's just intriguing, exposing you to other ideas.
Right.
Yeah. So that was just the podcast aspect. I have others, but yeah.
Books would be another really big one. You know, whether you're reading a book for personal development or for educational purposes, or just your favorite genre. You know, I love historical fiction books.
Yeah.
And I'm usually in 3 different books at once. You know, one that I am reading with my daughter, and we do the read aloud in the car, the audio books. So yeah, I always have that one going, and then I have my own book. Sometimes I go back and forth between having one that I read on my Kindle, and then I have the audio that I'm listening to. And then we have our homegrown book that we're reading together. So.
I know the homegrown has really filled my cup.
Yes.
You know, and just the reaffirming, and then the content reminding me how to think differently. And it's funny because sometimes the books you're reading are the shows I'm watching.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm reading Outlander. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm watching Outlander.
Yep.
So it's kind of fun to check in. We're on season 3, by the way, now.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Okay. And then there's, you mentioned books, and you can do it audibly or just read it yourself. Okay. I thought this was a fun idea. Hobbies, right?
Oh, yeah.
So spending time in your hobbies and researching how to do them.
Yep.
Whether it's, you know, reading HGTV magazine.
Right.
Or like for me, even just watching Home Edit, which I've mentioned before, helped me want to purge.
Right.
And or the joy of magic of tidying up, or the KonMari method. Sometimes it's a show.
Right.
But reading those books or doing the research and studying those kinds of things to enhance your hobby also fills my cup.
Yeah, this is usually the time of year I get out my big giant box of yarn and my crochet stuff
yeah.
and start thinking about what projects to make as Christmas gifts and figuring that out. And I don't prioritize that type of, hobby all the time,
Yeah.
but when I do, I love it. I love to be able to, show my kids that I can make something like that.
Yeah.
And then, inevitably that gives me my own time, whether I'm with my family or alone doing that project.
What I loved, I did hem quilting, which is a lot like knitting in that you can just sit there and do it. And I loved doing that when we would go to like watch a sporting event.
Yes.
I can bring my hand quilting because it was just piecing or whatever.
Right.
And then, or if we're watching TV or a show as a family, I can sit there and do that. And I'm filling my cup in so many ways.
Right. You're still present in conversation or whatever it is that you're doing, but you're still keeping your hands busy and fulfilling that little need.
Yeah, we're gonna be making dream sachets with our
cute.
herbology. So I'm hoping that will turn into Christmas gifts.
Sure.
And so I think I'm actually really excited to start on that because even if the kids end up not wanting to do that, I can sew the sachets and it'll be really fun. And even for some, it's like refinishing furniture.
Oh, absolutely.
So, following their Instagram person or whatever and taking notes and actually feeling like you accomplished something in that time to enhance your hobby. Okay, there's also conference notes. So like I've said a million times before, I've gone to a number of conferences.
Sure.
I take notes in notebooks. So even just flipping through those sometime can re-inspire. That content can re-inspire my mental part of self-care.
Absolutely.
And make me want to try something new or reaffirm or challenge me.
Or go watch a new TED Talk or
TED Talks, that's awesome.
Yeah, the availability of the conferences online right now is pretty big.
Yeah, definitely. And then also preparing for a topic. Like sometimes I feel overwhelmed by like a Harry Potter Day herbology, for example. I feel overwhelmed by it. And as I have it approaching, I'm like, like I don't even know what we're going to do, but I want to have everything prepared. So just sitting down and saying, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to just go over this and figure out what I'm going to do and the order I'm going to do it takes away the overwhelm. And thus takes away the stress.
It's a little reset.
And so that helps my mentality as well.
Another thing I really love to get out is my organizer skills, and just to be productive in that way. And so like I'll get out my planner, have it all organized just how I want it, and I'll go through things, and that helps kind of make me see anything that I missed, because sometimes you have this stress of things that you think you've forgotten. Or did I really put this in my calendar? When is this thing happening? And so just that being able to check in on what is going on in your life is really helpful.
Just the research shows just writing it down and making a list is so important. And I actually read something about that.
That comes later. Yes, I know what you're talking about, but I did write that down here for organizing. Just for me mentally, as part of my self-care, I need to be able to know that all my ideas are being held somewhere, because it can't be trusted here all the time. I do a fairly good job of keeping it all together, but really there's things that I've thought of that are important to me, and so I need to make sure I write them down.
So when you're thinking about your self-care, now think of the mental aspect. And so when you're planning your self-care out, grab one thing that you can do to help you mentally. And then now we'll move on to emotional.
Yes.
Okay. So emotional, do you want to go first on that?
No, you do.
Okay. All right. So emotional is such a huge topic, right? And it kind of engulfs the other ones, right? And affects the other ones. But it can be simply like tending to your emotional health can be sitting outside and having a cup of coffee. And it could be meditating, and
self-reflection.
It could be prayer, writing
time with God.
Writing in a gratitude journal or prayer journal. It could be just lighting a candle and laying down with your eyes closed for 5 minutes, giving yourself a peace and a time to be present. A cuddle and a hug. So emotional is a lot about touch, right? So get those hugs and cuddles from your kids or from your spouse, or go get a massage. I guess that's more physical, but
you're talking emotional connection.
Right, that's true. And so to-do list. So I read an article on Psychology Today, and they're talking about to-do list can really relieve a lot of stress. But then you can be also stuck in it's called the procrastination field.
Oh.
So a lot
I know
of people,
that field.
Yeah. So a lot of people make lists in order to procrastinate.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't do anything for your stress level. It, it's just like, oh, look at all the things I have to do. So if you make a list, start checking them off.
Right.
And then the order you do it might matter too. So when I was working like in a regular job, I always had hard things because as a business manager, there's all these things I had to follow up on, things I didn't like doing. So I picked one day a week to do my hard things. This is my hard day. And I would gird myself up for it. I'd get my soda.
Right.
And I'd be like, I'm going to bust out all my hard things this week. And then the rest of the week, I could just relax and know that I have my hard day.
Right.
And that's going to...
what it'll do.
Yeah. So it's not always hanging over my head. So maybe make a to-do list of your hard things, whether it's the bills or returning phone calls or making...
Separate it out.
Doctor's appointments, whatever feels hard to do. Yeah, make that list and maybe pick one day a week that you spend 10 minutes accomplishing it or 20 minutes accomplishing it, whatever it is. And so in that way, your list can work for you, right? You get it on paper and now you don't have to think about it. Okay, so the declutter. So decluttering your home also helps declutter your mind. So there was a New York Times article, which I found very interesting. And of course I had to share it with the spouse because he sees me get all upset when I walk into my kids' room and it's a total disaster. I feel anger rise up inside me.
Right.
Like physiologically.
Yeah.
My own room, if it's messy, I'm like, my schoolroom I don't even come into if it's messy or has cat hair. I'm like, forget it. We're going to school somewhere else. Well, there's science that shows that women are way more affected than men by mess. And it negatively impacts their mental well-being, especially in women. It increases our cortisol levels.
Fascinating.
Yeah, the stress hormone.
Yeah, it's true though.
So this article is called The Unbearable Heaviness of Clutter by New York Times. So they looked at research and stuff like that. So, and what they found was it was all associated with life dissatisfaction. So that if anytime there's a reason to declutter and clear things out, I mean, even like KonMari method is if you know that drawer is messy, even if you can't see inside it, you still need to clear out that drawer because your mind knows what's inside of it.
Right.
It feels the clutter inside.
Interesting.
So, so just keep that in mind. If you have, I'm full of clutter, you have toys everywhere. You have all the stuff you've planned, all the art supplies, all your decorations, keep that in mind that is affecting you emotionally. Sure. Okay. So I'm going to talk about this one person, Nicholeen Peck.
Oh yes.
And Nicholeen Peck is a superstar for me.
Right. You love her.
Yeah, I love her. So I met her kind of, as a speaker at the Great Homeschool Convention. Is that what it's called? The Great Homeschool Convention, yeah. I met her back when I was, 4 or 5 years ago when I started going. And she was on a BBC show called or PBS show, one of the two, The Strictest Parents in the World.
Oh, right.
Or Strictest Parents in America. And the reason she was featured, she doesn't like spank, she's very gentle parenting. But the reason she was featured is because she has a number of foster kids that come in and out of her home. And then she has biological kids as well that have to help her navigate these foster kids. And these foster kids are ones, she always takes the ones that no one wants. No one wants. They've been kicked out of home after home after home. So she has a whole mantra, a whole script that if a child wants to disagree, there's a whole script and they learn that script. They memorize that script basically. So they know how to say, may disagree appropriately.
Wow.
So they learn this with her. And that's why she's like, they would say strictest parents because they have the script they have to use, but there's peace and calm. But so what she does is though, she has this CD series that I've listened to. I have her book. I have, I think a workbook. I have a poster, a bookmark.
Yeah. You have her picture in the corner of your homeschool room.
So I convinced her to give me the book for free because I was buying the whole CD system. I'm like, can you just throw in the book? She's like, well, it's the same. And I was like, yeah, I like to underline. Yeah. So she's like, fine, I'll throw it in. But so I talk a lot about her just to give her some credibility here. And she's full of light and life and smiles. And her daughter was even there when she was teaching us. And they reenacted the script that her,
so cool.
yeah. So I bring her up in this emotional part because she recommends a weekly spousal meeting.
Oh.
She says so I feel weird saying, can we set a meeting time?
Right.
But
so awkward.
I know, but she says that's what you do. You have a regular spousal meeting, whether it be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So then all those little things you want to say throughout the week and you want to address, you just put on a list. And it's like your agenda. Right. And the spouse will do the same thing. That way, in the middle of their watching a sport, you're not going in and saying, you have got to deal with this. Like, you haven't done this and you need to do this. Like, you're not shocking them with your anger or with your dissatisfaction in the marriage or whatever.
Or unimportant commentary for the moment. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're allowing them to recreate. You're allowing them to be with their kids. You're allowing them to be with you. Right. And I used to do premarital and newlywed counseling as a psych student. And that was also a very important thing. Like, make sure you take all those little conversations and you put them in one spot. Right. And you save that, and so it totally made sense when she said that. It reminded me of that. And what she says is that's when you talk about budget. That's when you talk about planning your vacations. That's when you talk about issues, like long-term issues you're having with the kids. Not something that needs to be dealt with right away, but like a long-term plan or goals. And you're just checking in with each other. And it's up to you if you want to allow the kids to witness it, but they're not allowed to talk. Right. Or you can do it privately. That's totally up to you, Right. But it's a time to talk about it where you're coming to the table and you're addressing these emotional issues. And then you're getting them off your chest. They're getting they're getting what they need off their chest. So I thought that was really neat.
That is neat.
And then the other thing she recommends is a weekly family meeting. So, oh my goodness, I don't know how many meetings.
My schedule. I
know. No. But again, that's only 10 to 15 minutes as well.
Right.
But
it's meant to be concise.
Yeah, everyone's checking in. And her CD series, and I should look to see if she even has a podcast, because it'd be awesome if it was a podcast. But her CD series really walks you through that. It's called Teaching Self-Discipline.
Oh, nice.
And so, but when you get together as a family, you plan your family events together. You address maybe the schedule for the week, and you just talk about those things. So you're not nitpicking all throughout the week. You're saving all that for your agenda, your list. And we do that in every other aspect of our lives, right? We do that in business. We do that with our Coop group. We have an agenda for when we meet with the moms. You and I have meetings.
Right. We write it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we sometimes just want to hang out. And then if we constantly bring in business, we won't always have our friendship, right?
Exactly.
So she recommends that for the spouse and the family. And that was a very long description of that, but I can see that being a very important part
very helpful.
Of your emotional self-care. Just making the list, your agenda, knowing that I am actually going to get to address these things that really bother me, that I need help with from the spouse. And just putting that down, and then you're not mulling over them because you have it down and you know that meeting is coming.
And then you both know that might be something, or the time when something difficult might come up, because that's when the time is allotted, which is really helpful for people who tend to be anxious about how to bring up a hard topic.
Right.
You know, but now there's a dedicated time. Like, you don't have to work up the courage to bring it up. It's there for you.
Yeah, and you know when you're going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So that was, I think, what I wrote for all the emotional stuff.
Perfect. Yeah. I don't really have anything to add to that.
Yeah. It was so thorough. I know.
It was great.
Okay, physical. Why don't you kick off that one?
So, beauty routines. That's one of my favorite areas of physical self-care. Whether it's giving yourself a mani or pedi, facial, face masks, whatever it is that you want to do for yourself to take care of your physical body. Just being able to set aside that time for those kinds of things. Your haircuts, totally. Those are important. Go schedule it. maybe you only do an annual haircut. It's fine. You know, just when do you do that, and how do you work that in, and how do you prioritize that? And so physical, beauty routines, and then
well, can I talk about beauty routines?
Go for it.
So I get to watch her beauty routines when we do Marco Polos, which is like it's almost like a Skype, but it tapes it for you, and then you can watch it at any time.
Right.
So so I love watching it because you're like efficient and you're swift, but you have all these different things to it. But you're gonna have amazing skin when you're older.
I hope so.
You know?
I mean, I see the wrinkles already,
Yeah,
so
no.
I'm not sure that it's working, but you know, like, I'm sure it's
just
better
the
than
peacefulness
not.
that comes with that, like that probably helps you also emotionally.
It does, definitely.
And just the calming down, just like we give our kids a bedtime routine, you know, to calm them down and let their body know it's time to go to sleep. Like a bedtime routine for us is great.
Yep.
You know, mine consists of maybe changing into pajamas because I may have worn my pajamas all day.
Right. Yeah.
And then now I have to add plucking hairs to it. But
no, I like the nightly shower, and then, you know, I do my face cleansing in the shower, and then when I get out, I have like a couple of different things that I do, and my teeth, and you know, so that definitely is my kind of quiet time. So sometimes I'm either listening to or recording a Marco Polo, or I'm listening to my audiobook, you know, so that's definitely like my opportunity to be alone. And usually it's at midnight?
yeah, it's when everyone's asleep though, so it's
gone.
such peace.
Get out. Yeah, it's my bathroom. No one's asking me for food or milk or whatever they ask me for.
Yeah, no, it's actually soothing for me to watch. We should have done this podcast wearing the facial masks.
Yeah, see,
For
that's
all
too much
you
for me.
YouTube watchers.
Yeah. And so I know I wanted to touch on health routines too, because, you know, whether it's your vitamins or your daily tea or coffee, you know, there's those kinds of health related routines that are really important to prioritize. I forget my vitamins half the time because I don't set aside a specific time. You know, I need to work that into my beauty routine, you know, and that I never miss, you know, without
keep
fail,
it in your bathroom.
Right. I need to have a better routine for making sure I'm taking care of my health in that way. But I think that's just a personal challenge of mine. Yeah.
I think it's really important that our kids see us taking care of ourselves and doing the beauty routines and showing that I care about myself and taking care of myself, and how much more then will they be willing to brush and floss their teeth every day, you know? And my kids will be like, Mommy, have you flossed your teeth? And I'm like, no, but I will. But you know, how much better if they saw me doing that and taking care of myself.
Lead by example. Yeah.
Okay, so should we touch on some working out?
Yeah, because then of course there's the literal physical activity.
Yeah. So I think one of the big challenges of working out is what do you do with the kids?
Sure.
So it used to be, I don't know if YMCA still have this or if they're even open in this COVID time, but it usually was that they had child watch and you can drop your kids off there. Mine would not go there.
No, yeah, mine
So
would
one
never
time I
go.
dropped them off and sat outside with a book and they lasted 15 minutes. And that's how I knew, okay, I can't go work out.
Right.
You know, I don't want my kids crying because I'm working out. So I knew working out outside the home was not going to work for me. So I had to figure out how to work out inside the home. Now, sometimes I'm super consistent.
Sure.
And then I'll go years not working out, like right now. But I was doing the reformer, the Pilates machine for about 4 months straight every day. And at the time I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay.
So they want my attention, and I have 30, and the Pilates workout is 30 minutes.
Sure.
So I had a workout bin. And so they would open it up and it would have some Christmas gifts in there maybe that they never knew. They had no memory of getting for Christmas.
That's hilarious.
So I used to, at Christmas, when they get a Christmas gift, they would only keep one, and then I put the rest in the garage, and then every month I would cycle one in.
Right. That's so
and then
cool.
the little ones I would just, like from stockings or attached to presents or whatever, I would put in the workout bin.
Perfect.
So they would have that access to that, and then you could have kits and other things that they only have access to when you work out. And so they might be pretty excited for you to work out. Now, as they get older, you don't need to worry about, like, my kids are happy to jump in with me now and do burpees and push-ups and stuff. You can also turn on educational videos for them, even in the same room as you, because if your workout is memorized in your head, you can do that. or if it's on your like YouTube or
Sure.
on your phone, you can have the phone playing. They could be watching an educational video like Mr. DeMeo or a documentary, and you're all together. And it's important that they see you working out.
Absolutely.
You can also serve them breakfast. Kids are very happy when they're eating. So if you serve them breakfast and then go work out, you have about 10 to 15 minutes. And sometimes that's all you need is 10 to 15 minutes to do your yoga or to do your stretching. So that's another way to keep them occupied. And all of those are meaningful ways. It's not giving them some video game, right?
Right.
Your exercise has to fit your lifestyle. So you have to pick the time of day that works for you, but in your rhythm. So it might be prior to your shower, right?
Right. Yes.
You know, it could be while you're listening to a podcast, you know, but finding that exercise routine that you really like. So I started selling Beachbody. Now I don't sell it anymore, but beachbody.com is a really great thing because it's like an exercise channel, and there's at least 50 different programs on there. And so there's like high intensity interval training. There's what I like, the 21 day fix. It's 21 days of workouts that you can do. And they're all like, you can do the 10-minute workout one. There's family ones where you throw a ball back and forth. And
That's cute.
there's dancing ones. There's like country heat where you're doing country. And I've never
Like line
sweated so
dancing?
much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
have you never been line dancing?
yeah, I have, but usually just one song here and there, you know, not like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, I learned I can't do that because I can't not do it.
Yeah, and
The dancer in me is like, oh, I got every move. I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you totally love country heat. Oh my goodness.
But see, I can't. Well, I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But I would do it as an exercise.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like Beachbody's $100 a year.
Sure.
So and then you can rotate through, but I like that they have a program. And if you want to do their diet, fine, but you don't have to. You know, like you can literally say, I'm going to do the 80-day one and do, you know, that's like a whole hour. So that didn't work for me. I tried doing it. An hour is way too long for me, but 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I can do those.
Doable. Yeah.
Yeah. So finding something like that, a lot of them are online for free on YouTube. They might not have a program that you can follow. Yeah, just one-offs. Hiking, treadmill, whatever floats your boat in exercise.
Right.
Like you could even just 5 minutes. You know what my sister told me? When she talks on the phone, she gets on her little stair climber.
Oh, how funny.
And she just does it while she's talking on the phone.
Oh, perfect.
So whatever she's doing, wherever she is, even if it's a 5-minute phone call, she's like, oh, I'll do this.
Right.
And that's what she does. So I can always hear her little huffing and puffing, and I'm like,
so
she's
funny.
on her stair climber.
But see, that's great because if that's something that's a part of your regular routine, you know, I mean, normally it's hard to be productive when you're on the phone doing something else.
Right.
And then she can stay focused on her phone call. You know, it's not doing the stair stepper doesn't take away from her attention and focus.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if you did 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes there, you've just gotten in like a 20 to 30 minute workout, you know? So also the space matters. So what you sign up for really matters. And so you might have to move a coffee table out of the way, you know, and, but you got to remove whatever barriers. So if your Pilates machine is in the garage, you're probably never going to do it. Right. So my mother-in-law keeps her Pilates machine literally in her living room.
Oh, wow. Yeah. She's serious about it.
Yeah. Oh, she does it. If when I be getting ready to go out with her, like at her house, she's doing Pilates while she's waiting for me, fully dressed, just going ahead and doing some.
Good for her.
Yeah. Like it's like, it's an in-between thing. She hops on, does it. And then people are ready to go. She hops off, you know?
Perfect.
And, so you got to make it accessible to you, and you can always move it out for Christmas. You know,
of course.
But your house is a tool, you know, it's not a showpiece. So to remember that your house is a tool, like, you know, I have four tables of Legos, and I've mentioned this so many times now, in the middle of my family room, or on this half of it. And we have to reorganize our Christmas tree because of it. But that's what matters to them. I'm making it accessible. You know, my house is not a showpiece. It's a tool. It's a tool for living.
For everyone in your family to live in.
So, so that's big. Oh, and you can do it with a friend. You and I have been talking about doing the Pilates machine together. 2 times a week, you know, at 7 in the morning, and that will get me up and that will get me working out. So doing it with a friend is committed. I used to meet a friend at 24 Hour Fitness before kids.
Same.
At like 6 a.m. in the morning, before going to work. And when I was teaching, I would meet her at 5.
Oh, nice. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then if she didn't show up, I was super bummed.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
oh no.
I did not wake up at 5 to be stood up.
Yeah. But so yeah, whatever you need to do to get some physical work in. And so when you look at all 3 categories, mental, emotional, and physical, it's so helpful to pick one thing from each category to do. And it becomes more like, okay, if you plan it out, I'm going to do my podcast when I'm showering. I'm going to, emotional, I'm going to make a list today of my hard stuff.
Right.
Or I'm going to fill out my gratitude journal today. Yep. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. It doesn't have to be this big, long routine. I was listening to someone talk about he needs to surf every day.
Sure.
And he was saying this was on a podcast, but he was saying he was only going to surf every day if he could at least be in the water for an hour. But then he realized, I never will go then.
Right. It was too limiting.
Yeah. So he said, I realized any time in the water is worth the drive and the wetsuit.
Right.
Just to have the 10 minutes in the water, for his self-care.
Right.
And then another takeaway from that is encourage your spouse.
Oh, sure.
In their self-care. Encourage their hobbies, encourage their recreation, encourage their meditation time, whatever it is. My husband just started working out 3 weeks ago, again, back on the Beachbody routine. He has not skipped a day.
It's amazing.
And so I'm saying, I'm so proud of you. You look great. You look stronger. He feels stronger.
Right.
And what does that do for me? It only encourages me.
Right.
And vice versa. So encourage each other. It's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
If you both get your self-care in.
Yep.
And then it benefits the whole family.
Yeah, I agree. And self-care changes with every season of life.
Right.
A new mom has probably one of the hardest times to try and prioritize self-care. There's 24-hour on-call duty, and it's difficult.
Sure.
You're literally squeezing it in. So when you have that limiting attitude, I can only do it if I have an hour. You're never going to do anything.
Right.
That baby, you have no guarantee that baby is sleeping for anything longer than 5 minutes.
Well, that's why nursing for me, nursing the baby to sleep, everyone said, oh, don't nurse the baby to sleep.
Oh, no.
Nursing the baby to sleep?
Beautiful.
I know. That's when I'd watch Ellen and have my Izzy drink.
Right.
And my Reese's peanut butter cups. I would sit there and just enjoy that and know that the youngest was taken care of. The older ones were figuring it out, but they knew when I'm nursing, you don't come interrupt, or if the spouse was home, then he was putting them to bed, So you just have to try and find that moment, whatever gives you peace. Yeah. And, even going out with friends. So
sure.
That Marcus, my husband knows I'm an extrovert, so I need that interaction with friendship.
Right.
And so for me, going out with friends, I come back feeling filled.
Absolutely.
And so if you or your spouse are that way, encourage them to be with their friends and have that time, and make sure that time with your friends is encouraging to you. Don't go out with friends who are not encouraging.
Right.
It's not
going to fill your cup, and it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, choose your friends. I know when we were when you're younger, you tend to want to keep friendships, which is great, but you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. So, and the 5 books you're reading and the 5 shows you're watching, that whole thing. So pick the people you're going to spend time with to be people that build you up, you build them up, they provide positive energy.
Yeah.
And they're a life force in your life,
right?
And enrich your life in some way. So
absolutely. So I thought it might be fun to wrap up our self-care with a little reality session.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because it's easy for us to outline all of this, but to be honest and to be kind of humble about what it is that we do or don't do. I thought we could make it simple by just being able to share what we're good at.
Yeah.
What we're really not good at, and then maybe some of our goals.
Totally. Yeah. That's great.
Okay. I'll go first so you can think about it.
Okay.
I think that I'm probably best at mental self-care. I think because I naturally love reading and love researching, that's something that I just do. I don't think about it. I don't set aside separate time for it. I think about something and I'll go and research it in that moment. And then that stimulates that, that desire for information and that cognitive movement, working that muscle. And then I just love books. And so I actually had made it a personal goal this year to read 50 books.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I was including the read alouds I do with my daughter, if they're chapter books. I wasn't counting the picture books, but when we're reading, what did we read this year? We read. You're
like Fox and Socks counts.
The 1,000 times I read it in a week. What did we read? Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's
one you wanted to read anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we read.
We were going to read that together, and then it came in, and I was like, not ready.
Yeah.
So you went on.
We did that, and then we, whenever we read something like a Harry Potter together, and so, we just read Alice in Wonderland, so I checked that one off. That was book number 40.
Ooh.
So this is.
So you just have. Yeah, you have 2 more months to do 10 more books. You can do it.
Yeah. I'm like 75% done or so. So I'm almost done. I got
that.
Or maybe 80%.
I love that goal is quantifiable
Right.
and like measurable. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I made that goal for myself. It's going to be super easy. I'm on Outlander book 4 and listening to it on double speed. So, I'll get that 30 hours done soon and and check them off. So now I need to start doing short books though, so I can really get them done. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, Alice in Wonderland's kind of short.
Right. And then when we finish Homegrown, I can check that one off, totally. And so it'll just be fun. So I'll reach my 50 by December 31st, no problem. So I feel like that's a good one that I do. I'm pretty good at having my cup of coffee in the morning and trying to protect that time.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
But I'm not really great at it, but I try. And then, of course, I already mentioned my beauty routines, being able to take my shower and just being really unplugged from everyone else. And so, again, that's when I'm listening to my books. So my books are pretty constant or, occasionally it's a podcast. It depends on what's going on and what I'm learning about and what I want to fulfill that sort of need for information.
Is Jake a big reader? Because you and Sophia are big readers.
Of information in general, yes. So he finds he likes to play his like strategy and role-playing games. That's more mentally stimulating. And so he likes to do his he has these like civilization games, like a Settlers of Catan, type
geek.
of. Yeah. My nerd
it's fun. I love it.
But, it's really stimulating for him. And, he's working on stuff and then he's always researching something else about the game. And, he's gone through different phases. When he had a long commute, he was listening to either books on tape or he would listen to podcasts. And so now he was just saying that he's not even listening to his podcast because there is no commute.
Yeah.
So that's just a matter of him. And after he listens to this, maybe he'll be inspired also. And now I can encourage him to just find a way to prioritize time. Do you need to go sit outside? If you roll out of bed and then go straight to work because he's working at home indefinitely now, then you haven't really allotted any of that time.
Right.
So what can you do to give yourself that time?
People who commute even on trains, like that's or a bus, like that's a nice chunk of time.
I missed it so much when I stopped taking the bus and being able to read. It was like I didn't know how to find time to read anymore.
Yeah.
I used to get an hour a day of reading in.
Right.
Just on my commutes. And so it was really weird. And then I learned about books on tape, because they weren't literally on tape anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Digital books on iPods.
They can follow you while you're doing the dishes. You're listening to about it.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, I feel like Jake should be a speaker for our co-op, and for whoever's interested, I would love for my son especially to learn D&D and some of those civilization games.
We should host a game day.
Yeah.
And then one station for the kids who want to, get involved in, a long play game.
Yeah.
Could do that.
I'd love for Jake to teach it. Yeah. Okay.
And then I think the hardest thing is just to find time. You can't conjure more time. So then it's just about the constant reprioritization of the time you're putting different places, and obviously if I didn't spend time on Facebook or different places, which I can justify any which way up and down.
I'm staying connected with my friends.
It's for the coop.
Yeah.
But if I just didn't do it,
right.
But that's just sort of like that mental fatigue, I feel like it's just me unplugging in a way.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
it helps put me to bed at night, actually.
Right.
And it helps wake me up in the morning when I know I need to get up.
Right.
If I just look at Instagram or Facebook, it brings a journal in.
Yeah. So then I think my weakest is emotional. A lot of my physical routines get met because I do value health. in my beauty routine. I said I've got that one down, but I value health. And so naturally, that's what I keep in the house. It's just like the little details, like remembering my vitamins every day or
your job is physical.
Yeah. And then for the physical,
teacher.
I get a great workout twice a week and then I'm stretching 2 additional days a week. And then it's just a matter of whatever I choose to fit in between, which my body needs, because we were talking about this, I need actual cross training. My job is so specific that I'm just doing really repetitive movements. And so that's getting to a point with my aging body that's not going so well. So I need to cross train a little bit. And then, so my goal, I put that here, see, was my working out with Mandy, because again, I need to really start cross training. So that's really important for me. And then because I really lack it, emotional self-care, I want to go back to my prayer journal. So I have this beautiful red leather journal that my husband got me, and he wrote like a little scripture in there for me. And and so then that became my prayer journal. And so I was really good about it last year, and my daughter and I would do it together. She had her own journal.
I love that.
So I just need to do that again, so maybe that's going to be my new coffee routine in the morning. I get my coffee, I sit down, whether she's awake or not, I do it.
And you know what I love about a prayer journal? I just did it in college.
Sure.
Because I felt lonely and I needed the strength of God, that I'm his child,
Right.
So I seriously could look back at all my prayers, and it was just so joyous and enriching to look back and see how God had worked in my life. And how the things I struggled with, I was no longer struggling with, and I was stronger for it, or had a different perspective of it. And it's just amazing what a prayer journal can do in seeing God working in your life and in the lives, and in the lives of others.
That's really cool.
And with a prayer journal, you're also thinking of other people, right? So it also helps tune your mind into other people. And doesn't it feel good when someone says, how's your shoulder doing?
Right.
Or how did that speech go? Or how did that whatever go? And you just feel loved and cared for and
thought
more.
About that?
And it's because it's in your prayer journal and you can look back and so I think that's such a great
So those
practice.
are my 2 goals.
Yeah, that's really great.
We'll check in a few months and see how we're doing on these goals. So, Mandy.
Okay.
What self-care is best? Are you best at?
What self-care am I best at? I would probably say mental as well, because I like the podcast.
Sure, yeah.
And then the coop for me is a mental filling of my cup.
Yes.
So I write probably the majority of the blogs, right?
Yeah.
And because that fills my cup. I'm excited to sit down. It's not overwhelming for me unless I were to do the Harry Potter themed day or something. That's why I say we should do a podcast for that. But it's not overwhelming. It's just fun. And I have fun kind of doing some of the research and also preparing for podcasts.
Right.
It's fun. Since I was a psych major, I love looking at psych articles, whether I reference them or not, just to send me where I need to go. So that definitely fills my cup, and I do treasure that time so much because that's what I do after the kids go to bed.
Right.
What I wish I did more of was my hobby stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I wish I I used to I've taken classes in pottery. And I wish I was doing more of that kind of thing. Of course, that takes you outside the home.
It does. It's hard now.
So
just think, in 10 years,
I know, then
we'll need to do that to take our mind off our
missing our children. But yeah, I mean, I could be quilting. I have a table runner that I found when I was setting my kids up with their quilt a couple weeks ago. I found in the same, it's called batik fabric. It's a tie-dye type of fabric. But I found a table runner I had started that's very fall.
How cool.
And I was like, I didn't even know I had done the top for it. I just need to do the back.
Right.
And I hand it. So I do it all by hand. So I'm having my kids do it by machine because I'm not going to ask them to do it by hand. But I could be sitting there doing it by hand. Right. So that would be, not to skip ahead, but that would be a goal of mine to work more on my hobbies.
Right.
And have my kids see me working on my hobbies.
Yeah.
and then they'll be more inspired to do theirs, whatever they may be.
It's true. Yeah. Sophia has watched me knit and crochet different projects over the years, and often I let her choose her colors for her thing.
Yeah.
You know, she has a hat, and I made, I don't know if you ever saw it, but I made a unicorn hooded scarf.
Wow.
So it was a scarf, and it had a hood, and then I had a unicorn.
Oh my word. Yeah. I mean, you're quite the sewer. Like, we still have the skirt that you made for Sophia for dance that Maisie wears still when she so she still wears her ballet stuff to perform for me.
Yeah.
On sometimes a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So that's why it's surprising she doesn't want to do dance class, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think you're weakest at for self-care?
So probably both emotional and physical. Like physical, I do not take care of myself, as I've said. Like, you know,
it's not a priority.
I will go days without brushing my teeth.
So funny that you mention that one all the time.
I know, because like I feel so self-conscious about it when I remember. I'm like, ew. Like, but I just get caught up in things, and
it's not a priority.
Yeah, and I don't get a bunch of cavities, so I don't even. Yeah, so, but it's also funny.
Right.
It's
it
crazy.
Is funny.
What adult does that, you know? So,
you and Michael Scott.
Yeah.
The blood everywhere.
Oh, I know. The second I floss, I'm like, oh, this is why I don't floss. But, so just like taking care of myself and exercise as well, I will get I'm all or nothing. So I'm either all into exercising. You'll see me post it everywhere, and I'll lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks and then another 10 pounds. You know, I'll get totally on it, and the diet and everything. Or it's like, oh no, I'm going to enjoy life, you know. So I'm terrible at that, and I'd love to get in a 2 a week with you.
Right.
And then 2 a week on my own.
And now you have hiking every other Friday.
Yeah, so I've signed up for that. Hiking is definitely not something I'm into. But I don't know hiking trails, and I'm sure once I learn these hiking trails, and I'm going with it's another group of homeschoolers. I'm sure once I develop relationships doing that stuff, I'll be more happy to go.
It'll just be good with your kids too. Like once you get into it and get your frame of mind set, I think it'll be a good one because you'll see the physical value and then the value of adventuring with your kids.
Yeah,
like,
and every other week, that's pretty good for getting, 15. I used to get steps in very easily.
Right.
You know, America's probably the only country that counts their steps, right?
Seriously.
I mean, I don't even think New Yorkers probably count their steps because they have to walk everything. Yeah. They're more like Europe, right? But I'd go to Disney, I'd be like, wow, I got 15,000 steps in. Or I used to clean a beach house for my friend, and I would get sometimes over 20,000 steps in cleaning the beach house. And so I could naturally get in stuff. Sure. Now I'm getting probably 2,000 steps in. Right. You know, not going anywhere and sitting all day with the kids or whatever. I'm also, what was my other goal? Oh, now I can't remember my other goal. The working out. Oh, the spousal meeting and the family meeting. Yeah. So when I remembered that for this podcast, that's when I was like, that's what I want to do. It feels like really weird scheduling something like that. But I had forgotten all about it. And I have a whole section in my bookcase with her stuff. Yeah. Even like things with the script, like little note cards with the script on it.
Here's what we say, honey.
Yeah. So, but definitely the spousal meeting would de-stress my life. Sure. And I'm doing a budget. So I used to do everydollar.com. Right. And that was really great because then you feel free with the money you have set aside to do things with, instead of being like, oh, this should have gone to that. So I think meeting with the spouse on a regular basis would definitely help with budgeting as well, and give us just both more accountability. Yeah. I just spent $50 probably almost daily on books I'm buying for the kids. It's ridiculous. Yep. I mean, if I could go to the library, that'd be another thing. Right. So yeah, that was a little less organized than your presentation. Oh, that's because I put that together. Yeah. So anyways.
All right. Well, that was self-care.
Yeah, self-care. Lots to it.
Yes, that's right. So let's talk about some joys.
Okay.
I'll go.
Okay.
So this is my self-care joy. Okay. I had time to give myself a manicure.
Isn't she so cute? Her nails are matching her earrings, which are what is that
They're
called?
Black and white buffalo check.
Yeah, buffalo check.
So it's the buffalo check plaid. So if you're not watching the YouTube, every nail is buffalo check. And those are, a friend of mine was doing one of those. It's the Color Street nail strips. So it's the first time I've ever done it. It's not the cleanest manicure, but hey,
I love it.
it's super cute and it's super fall and it's super fun. It's one of my favorite patterns. All my like Christmas decor is buffalo check.
Well, and those who aren't watching, Jessica's gorgeous. And so her earrings just, I don't know what, but they
pop.
They pop. Yeah, they look really good on you too.
I'm liking these earrings too. These are new.
Yeah, you make me want to get my ears re-pierced so I can wear cute earrings like that.
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
These are just those leather earrings, and so you could have all kinds of different patterns on here.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and this place that now actually it was in the news because someone got fungus, but I used to go with a friend or I take my girls to get their nail polish painted for like $6. So you can take your kid to one of those nail salons and just say, I want a polish change.
Right.
And it's $6. And so your kids feel like they get a manicure, you feel like you get a manicure, and they're not filing, they're not buffing, they're just cleaning off your nails and putting on new nail polish.
Yep.
So that's a very fun self-care thing to do, with a friend. Okay, so
your
my joy. Okay, the other day I got permission from the spouse.
Okay.
To share this, but it was so funny. It has to go down.
Okay.
So I built it up way too much. It's not that funny, but I'm in the middle of reading this. There's this picture book called The Wall by Peter Siss, and it's about this child who the writer is. Or he's taking on the perspective. I don't know if he is from the USSR, but he's living behind the Iron Curtain.
Sure.
And growing up behind it, and it's a picture book about that. And it actually appeals probably more to the adult, than the child, but it's fascinating. So I'm in the middle of reading that to the kids and talking about the problem of big government and all this stuff, right? And out of the blue, my 6-year-old says, I have a question. I'm like, is it about this?
Right.
Yes, I have a question. Okay. She goes, would you rather smell daddy's super smelly farts or mommy's cottage cheese?
Oh my gosh. Not about this. Yeah.
It brought me so much joy because we do would you rathers in our dailies.
Right.
And she thought of that one all on her own. They hate the smell of the cottage cheese they eat. They hate it. They can't even be in the same room.
So funny.
And then the fact that she said that it was daddy's, not mommy's. They always say mommy's for some reason, but I was so glad she said daddy's. And of course they all picked the cottage cheese.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So that brought me joy. It was just really cute. It was her transferring dailies.
Right.
Of Would You Rather book that we do out loud and discuss and have fun talking about.
So maybe this book was a little heavy for her.
It was too much for her. Yeah. Totally had nothing to do. So that was just really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So that's self-care.